It continues. Columbia, well, they have stopped having classes now. Our president has canceled everything. Put up the picture, full mask. It's amazing to me. All of these very smart, bright, educated people, they can't seem to figure out how to be, decent and engage thoughtfully. Columbia University's President Shafik, announced early Monday that it would hold classes remotely, a move that highlighted worsening friction at the school after a wave of protests on campus over the weekend. The president said in a letter to the Columbia community, quote, "We need a reset," adding that she felt sadness about how the university's bonds had been severely tested in recent weeks. She urged students who do not live on campus not to travel there. Let's put up the rabbi. This is Rabbi Eli, okay? Prominent rabbi at Columbia University issued a warning that seems quite eerie. So he said this to the school's Jewish students on Sunday, telling them to, quote, "return home as soon as possible and stay there until pro-Palestinian demonstrations simmer down." Wait a minute, keep the rabbi up for a minute. Young brother, pro-Palestinian does not mean antithetical to Jews. I recall many coming to the defense of the Jewish community when white supremacists were saying Jews will not replace us. A lot of black folk also defended the Jewish community when white supremacists said these things, when Kanye West was antithetical to the Jews. Diverse groups came out and said, this is not proper, this is not appropriate. And many of the students who are in the Jewish community and Jewish student groups are supportive of humanitarian efforts. They're adverse to the government of Israel. You have to remember, this is the government of Israel led by Netanyahu on this murderous campaign against Palestinians, and many of them are children. Pro-Palestinian students, many of whom are Jewish, had erected dozens of tents on the campus lawn last week and refused to leave until Columbia met their demands, including divesting from companies with ties to Israel. Now remember, pro-Palestinian students, many of whom are Jewish, all right? You cannot forget that point. In an effort to quell the unrest, Dr. Shafik, the president, called in the police, who made more than 100 arrests. Put up the president again. Ma'am, you're effing up. You're effing up, okay? These students are on the right side of morality, ethics, humanitarianism, and history. You go to institutes of higher learning in order to express independent thinking, to be critical in your analysis. And as soon as they demonstrate independent thinking, you punish them, you put them in jail. With millions watching and many people benefiting from this program called Indisputable, we just need 1% of the viewers to become a paid member so we can continue to bring this content to you. Now back to the show. Meanwhile, New York City Mayor Eric Adams issued a condemnation on Sunday of the, quote, the anti-Semitism being spewed at and around the Columbia University campus, and warning that the NYPD, quote, will not hesitate to arrest anti-Israel protesters encamped at Columbia University as necessary. Keep this fool up for a minute. Sir, it is completely legal to be anti-Israel, just like many, including seemingly the rabbis, anti-Palestinian. You understand? So the dynamic is interesting here. If you are pro-Palestinian, that means that you are anti-Israel. If you're pro-humanitarian or diplomatic efforts, you are somehow for Hamas? These are the dynamics being presented. So Mayor Adams also tweeted, the NYPD has increased presence of officers situated around the campus to protect students and all New Yorkers on public streets. And they stand ready to respond if a request is made by the university, like was done this past Thursday. Keep up that tweet. These are university scholars. I mean, you think, sir, you sound, I don't know, like a mayor by basically putting your police department, one of the most aggressive and largest police departments on the planet Earth. You are coming after college students on a campus. Response from the White House. The White House on Sunday issued a statement condemning the protest after videos on social media captured demonstrators praising Hamas and denouncing the Israeli government. Now, remember, they're trying to paint a picture, so they would take an extreme in order to paint with a broad brush. We've seen this before. While every American has the right to peaceful protest, calls for violence and physical intimidation targeting Jewish students and the Jewish community are blatantly anti-Semitic, unconscionable, and dangerous. They have absolutely no place on any college campus or anywhere in the United States of America, said White House Deputy Press Secretary Andrew Bates. Now, see, I agree with that. I agree with that. Calling for someone else to die is adverse to everything we understand as diplomacy, being human, being decent. Now, that's not the majority sentiment. You all forgot to mention that Jewish student groups are protesting the Israeli government. You keep trying to make people believe that this is Palestinian against Jews. You keep trying. You keep reframing it, trying to pit people against each other because it fits your weak ass simple narrative. So this is what you do. It's called intentional messaging. It is a pivot back to this paradigm. But we will not allow that to happen at Indisputable. We will provide the nuance as the students are providing the nuance in their own actions. Put up the picture full mass. Ishra Hirsi, the daughter of Representative Omar, gave a contrasting view on the protest during an MSNBC interview after she and others were suspended over the protest. If you remember, we brought you that news first right here. It was breaking during the show. Here's the video.
See any validity that the encampment was threatening to other students, made other students feel uncomfortable?
No, I think that the encampment was honestly one of the beautiful forms of solidarity. We would be singing songs, we had meals together, people prayed together, they held Shabbat yesterday. And it's really just been a very community-centered space. And also because of the fact that it is outside, it hadn't disrupted any classes and had really been a very isolated kind of moment where the zone in which we were actually protesting in is the demonstration zone that we are allowed to technically be able to protest in.
Why a protest in this form?
It feels like a peaceful escalation was the only way to make our voices heard because the school was ignoring us at every turn. We tried peaceful protests and then they changed their policies and retroactively, they suspended Students for Justice in Palestine and Jewish Voice for Peace for peacefully protesting completely illegitimately. We filed a lawsuit for that. We have tried referendums. They have pushed back on the referendums. So it really feels like a peaceful escalation was the only way.
There's more. Here it is.
I was suspended Thursday morning at 10 a.m. with 2 other fellow Barnard students. The email stated that we had engaged in disruptive behavior, but had not outlined the code of conduct that we had violated. The 3 of us were the only 3 that had done public interviews at that point. And so we think that our targeting the reason we got suspended so early was due to the fact that we had made ourselves known. And then that the school got NYPD records to be able to arrest the rest of the students. This is 100% targeted. Every single protest that we have, there's a group of counter-protesters that bring all of their items, their flags and things like that, and they're not seen as having unsanctioned protests or really receive the kind of disciplinary warnings that many of our fellow organizers receive just for being seen at these protests. And so there is definitely some hypocrisy here, especially you can kind of see it with the students that were sprayed us with the chemical weapons, and the fact that there's no public information as to what happened to them, but rather the university is actively discussing what is happening to the students here and making it a whole public spectacle, rather than when we haven't done anything to physically harm students, whereas those that sprayed those chemical weapons physically harmed students.
So well said. Put up the pictures again. I'm going to try to connect some dots here that may not be as noticeable in initial presentation. These are students, these are children. They have the right idea. They are correct on their assertion. I remember there were students, you can go back to the archive in the 60s, who did the exact same thing. They led the boycotts. They traveled across America. They were called the Freedom Riders. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was part of the anti-establishment, non-violent, peaceful protest movement in order to transform this nation. Only 6% of white America in a poll documented by NBC News agreed with Dr. King. He was nonviolent. He wanted people to be connected and safe, but only 6% in white America were down with that message. Tim Scott, U.S. Senator out of Arkansas, just the other day, he said basically, if a protest is on the bridge, just throw them off, kill them. Where's the White House press secretary response on that? That's a call for, murder by way of a U.S. senator on national news. And also to both of those students and anyone else who was retaliated against, you have a First Amendment right to freedom of speech and to be protected. When you went on social media, when you did interviews, they can disagree with you. They can make a statement against you. But once they decided to act and punish you for your protected speech, now we have a constitutional issue. All right, they picked the right one. Let's put it up according to The Guardian. Hundreds of members of Columbia teaching staff also staged their own walkout to demonstrate in solidarity with the arrested students. I want you to see this. Do you see that? This is the most beautiful thing in the world. This is the most beautiful thing in the world. Out of all of this negative energy, look at all of this positive response. Big ups to the professors who are standing with these amazing students. Sharon, a lot of twists and turns, but obviously you see what's happening. They're trying to recast this particular narrative to make it seem as if somehow Jews and Palestinians are against each other.
That photograph that you called beautiful that you showed there at the end of your commentary and the information doc is Columbia University's only hope now.
Yeah,
this
that's
young
right.
Aspiring journalist at one point considered going to what is considered one of the greatest journalism schools in the world. It is out of sync and out of touch. The president should resign. She shouldn't cancel classes. She should cancel tuition. And the representative's daughter was suspended because some donor, some high-placed person called for it. She was offered up. That's officially got to be it. I got a text from a Republican friend of mine this morning after I dropped my daughter off for school. And he asked if the media was intentionally misnaming some of the demonstrations as pro-Hamas. And I answered him yes, because this is lazy. It is not brave. It is intentional. And as for Mayor Adams, I didn't even know he was a real mayor. I thought he was simply an SNL sketch. He needs to go on and stay there Saturday nights live, okay? This is despicable.
Yeah, he's much better on Saturday Night Live than,
Indeed.
in government.
Indeed.